The Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 1 is a 2011 American romantic fantasy film directed by Bill Condon from a screenplay by Melissa Rosenberg, based on the 2008 novel Breaking Dawn by Stephenie Meyer. It is the sequel to the Twilight Saga Eclipse and the fourth installment in the Twilight Saga film series. At last, Bella and Edward are getting married. When Jacob learns that Bella plans to spend her honeymoon as a human, he's alarmed, fearing that Edward's strength and passion might unintentionally harm her. Though Bella survives the honeymoon, a new challenge emerges. She's unexpectedly pregnant, and the baby is developing at a dangerously rapid pace. The pregnancy sparks conflict between the Wolves and the Cullens, but Jacob remains determined to protect Bella. Alright, I've watched Breaking Dawn Part 1. Just one more to go, and I finally finished the series. It's been taking an unprecedented amount of time to finish the Twilight Saga. I believe it leaves Netflix tomorrow, so gotta quickly watch the last film, and then we'll be done. We can leave this series forever. But, to be honest, I have been enjoying the Twilight series, but I will say off the bat, I have found this movie, Breaking Dawn Part 1, to be probably the worst one. This was overly dramatic, and it was kind of bad in in every manner, to be honest. I'll get into what I feel like the biggest complaint I can give this film, and it's really to do with Bella's pregnancy. So, of course, Bella is suddenly pregnant. That's basically what this movie revolves around, and I thought the pregnancy and the reaction to it felt very sort of unrealistic, and it really sort of lacked emotional depth. So I understand that, the fetus, the half vampire fetus is growing at an accelerated rate. The fact that she can hear, the baby kick in within a week or something, I'll get by that, the fact that Edward is able to read the fetus's thoughts, I'll let that slide as well. But the fact that vampires who are believed to have retained their sperm from their human life, the fact that enter Edward, who shouldn't technically be able to release bodily fluids, but is somehow able to get a human woman pregnant, is just crazy to me. I found that highly unbelievable. I know I haven't read the books, but there's just so much vampire lore that I feel like is just shoved into your faces, and then the producers and directors now have this creative ability to just say, that's fiction. What can you expect? It's a fantasy, and so now you just have to let that slide. But it gets to a point where it's just so fantastical that we're just like, really, this is the route we're going on. But I don't know. It's like they needed conflict, and so they introduced this bizarre, supposed to be unbelievable, unprecedented conflict just because Bella's special or something, or she just has that allure. But it's like you're sort of just conflicting and contradicting your own lore by letting this happen. But it's a movie, so it's all right, I guess. I guess other plot logic issues sort of stood out for me. Mainly another one was when she's initially becomes sick, she throws up in the toilet or something. Maybe it's not the fact that you got pregnant that is what caused that initial sickness, but maybe it's the fact that you ate spoiled chicken from the fridge and ate peanut butter as well that's been in there for, God knows how long. Maybe it's because you just ate those back to back, and maybe that's why you're being sick. So, I don't know. I just thought it was a funny moment to point out. She's eating I feel like she was eating the chicken raw as well. I don't know. But yeah, it's just stuff like that sort of ticked me off. But another thing, the idea of Jacob and the wolf pack having authority over the Cullens. I understand, the Cullens are obviously in a very vulnerable moment right now because Bella is pregnant, but it just sort of felt weak and it felt misplaced, especially when if you were to, regardless of, Bella's state, if you were to ask who's more stronger, the Cullens or the Wolfpack, I would I feel like there's a great argument to say that the Cullens are the stronger clan. However, there is a climactic fight that occurs that only lasts for like 2 minutes, by the way, so it's kind of underwhelming. But in that fight, yes, the Cullens win that fight, but guess why they win? Jacob. Jacob is the Lord and Savior that the Cullens need, apparently. And so it's like, if Jacob wasn't on their side, would the Cullens actually lose? Like, that doesn't make sense. I don't know. It's that also rubs me off the wrong way. I also wish this movie would focus. I wish its focus would stay more on Bella and Edward's relationship. I don't mind the conflict between the Cullens and the Wolfpack. I feel like that's an overarching conflict that occurs in all throughout the film. So I don't mind that the Wolfpack and the clans they make an appearance. But I wish you would have had more focus on Bella and Edward's relationship, and he would stop trying to reignite this flame between Jacob and Bella. Like, they keep trying to shoe in, this third wheel narrative, or like this love triangle narrative, But it's like, she's married. Like, there's nothing to be envious about. There's nothing that's supposed to happen. It's like, it's over. It's done, But, I guess we're still somehow trying to go down that route. Another scene I feel like that was, potentially interesting scene that was missed was Rosalie helping during the birth. I thought that could have added a lot more depth. We do sort of get a nice touching moment with her and the baby, but it's really just, I don't know, it's really just Edward and Jacob those are the only two people present during Bella's birth. I mean, you cannot get more movie written than that. I mean, I feel like there should have been someone else and not just those two. But I mean, hey, it's a movie. You gotta make it super tense and hyped, Oh man, it's like two of her lovers that she was, having to choose from. Now they're the only people at her birth. But yeah, I think that lacked depth. Also, Bella's transformation into the vampire, that happens at the very, very, very end of the film, where we see her eyes and they're red. She sort of wakes up from presumably being dead. I thought it was a pretty weak ending. I could have seen it miles away. Everybody knows that, even if you haven't read the books, I felt pretty certain, maybe it's because of the title, it's called Part 1. I was pretty certain Bella wasn't actually going to die. And so, yes, the ending was very cheap and it was very cliche. I could see it from miles away. But it also just ruins the prior tension, it's like they spent so many moments just meandering over the fact that, oh man, Bella's dead, Jacob, mourns for her at one point. It's like, but even as a viewer, I know nah, she's not dead. Not because I know anything about the book lore or I know she's gonna be alive, but just because you can just see that from miles away. And so I don't think it was a very intelligent ending. Very cliche. Ruined the tension, of course. But yeah, I think overall this film just has flaws in its logic and in its pacing. There's a lot of lovey-dovey scenes that basically take up a quarter of the film, which, I guess shows the progression of Bella and Edward's relationship. But it's also the fact, I don't know, man, they're 19 or something. There's also a lot of blood, a lot of blood, or hell of a lot of blood, especially when Bella's giving birth. That made me think whoa, this is kind of crazy. This is a PG-13 rating. Apparently, the initial cut when it was introduced to the MPAA, apparently they gave it an R rating, which, makes sense because the lovey-dovey scenes are very intense and prolonged, and, the blood was insane during the birth scene. There's so much blood. So yeah, this movie definitely pushed the limits of a PG-13 rating, which I don't know if is a thing that should be really noted. I don't know. Yeah, overall, this film was the film of all time, and it's not. I half enjoyed it and half wanting it to be over. It's that type of relationship I'm having with the Twilight films now. But hopefully, the last film of the series is a bit better. Hopefully, it ends on a somewhat high note. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have any hopes, to be honest. So it might surpass my expectations because I don't really have any. But yeah, that's about it. I'm going to give Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1 a 5 out of 10. I believe that's the lowest rated film that I've given, the lowest rating I've given these films so far. But yeah, 5 out of 10. I've also updated my Letterboxd. I checked my other previous reviews, and apparently I gave the other films like a 7 out of 10. That's a clinical error on my part. I probably should have given them like a 6 out of 10. I'll give the first Twilight a 7 out of 10, but the other two films, Eclipse, New Moon, those should be a 6. So I won't update it in the video, but I've updated on my Letterboxd. But yeah, this is a 5. This is the lowest. But yeah, anyway, that's it. Hope you enjoyed. See you later.